Today, I am joined by Luke from Hatton Home Estate Agents, and I am absolutely honoured to be working with you again, Luke. So thank you, because obviously we spent quite a few years together at Romans, and it's absolutely fabulous to be working with you again from an AML perspective. So thank you firstly for joining me today and discussing your experience so far with smart compliance. So let's jump into it. So talk to me about what you were doing before working with us. What was your sort of AML process?
So we used an app-based supplier who had an online portal that we could log into, send a check out to the client via email or SMS, and then our teams would get a notification when that check was back. And we had no further interaction with them other than that, basically.
Okay.
So in comparison to what we're experiencing now, we were on our own with it, I guess, which is fine when you've got very basic clients with basic needs. But when you need to have a deeper understanding of the seller's ownership and what you need out of it to be compliant, that is obviously lacking, which is the big difference between where we were and where we are now.
Okay. So as to what sort of attracted to you to smart compliance was almost like the enhanced due diligence side of things with regards to the extra documents that might be required.
Absolutely. Yeah. To us, it's a complete outsourced. It means that as the on the background, on that for us, and we don't have to worry about it. But more importantly, it's also just so much more efficient for our guys and girls in the front office. And the integration with our CRM really helps with that. And that has saved so much time for them, which means they're freed up to be doing business generation, which is what they enjoy most and what they're best at, and not bogged down with admin and compliance, which is what they're not as good at.
What you mean, salespeople not liking admin?
Exactly that.
Strange.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. So that's what attracted it. Attracted us. Obviously, I've worked with you in the past. We knew that there were other people in our area using it as well, and ultimately, as I say, it's the full package. And what we like most about it is that there's plenty of human interaction as well. So you could some days feel like smart compliance sort of don't exist. They just kick everything back to you and everything works perfectly. And on the days where there's enhanced due diligence needed or there's a problem or whatever, you and your team are literally a phone call away. And I think that's the biggest differentiator between smart compliance and any of your competitors out there is A, it's completely outsourced, but B, you are dealing with a human who knows what they're talking about and knows the process inside out. And for us, it's peace of mind, but also just efficiency, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think, that you sort of mentioned peace of mind. Our HMRC guarantee, certainly for the business owners out there, is something that's quite attractive. But I think for me, obviously being ex-branch staff and an ex-branch manager, the time saving is ridiculous when you look at it. It's now like about a minute to order a compliance pack, whereas I was spending probably 20 to 30 minutes ish, I guess, per transaction trying to sort out AML.
Yeah, and from an audit perspective as well, what's really good is we can log into a file on our CRM and we can see that the AML's there. And I think when you're trying to get several people to follow a process, 99% of the time we'll get it right, but then it only takes someone to save something or click a wrong button or not save it into the CRM, but it's on their desktop, or it's just impossible to keep an eye on it. And that's fine when you're a small business and you've got time. That works, but we were at a stage where we were growing rapidly, and we needed to make sure that we were compliant across the board, but also it was just easy for people to do it, easy for us, easy for them, and a massive time saver. So you guys have saved us on that. It's been brilliant.
Perfect. Now, obviously, I was put in charge of the rollout across your branches. So talk to me about that and how it went down with the staff, the training that we did, and how it sort of, how the staff reacted to the change, because it's always quite tough having a big change like this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the changes which I'll come on to will be about the charging up front for AML. But what led to that being easy was the seamless rollout from your side. I think when you introduce something like this, you think, cool. And I think a lot of the reason people put off things like this is it feels like it's going to be a massive project, but actually in reality, it wasn't. I think the the bottom line is, within a few days, we were basically from what we needed to be integrated, we were up and running. From what you needed from us, from what we needed from you, it was seamless as anything. You obviously came in and met all the team members that needed to be trained from an AML perspective anyway, but also the guys and girls that would be using the system. And that's brilliant. So we just did 2 short training sessions across a day, half the team one, half the team the other. And I think what was really important in that is that you taught them and reminded them why they need to be doing it from an AML compliance perspective. It's the law, we have to do it, but also you help them sell the benefits of the client using smart compliance. And our teams are very much, we have a great culture whereby our teams aren't afraid to sell anything or charge anything. We charge high fees, for example. That's what we do. And if they understand the benefit to the client and they can coherently explain to a client why they should be paying for something, you help them do that. And I think that's what led us to, you barely noticed it had happened. By the time they'd got back to their offices, everything was integrated with Repit, and we set a start date for a few days later. And it was sort of off we went. It wasn't a problem at all.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think with something like this, the organisation beforehand, before the rollout, is really important. So you guys were fantastic. You had all the marketing material drawn up and ready to go. You had your contracts all done, ready to go. So actually, it came to the training sessions, it was great because everything was just ready to launch, and off we go. And although I remember with pleasure the training sessions that we had with your staff, because it was very interactive. They had lots of questions, and were quite keen on the benefits. So I think, you've mentioned it, but they loved the fact that it was going to save them time. I think they were all getting quite irritated with compliance and AML. They're clearly sort of go-getters and want to be doing what they should be doing rather than admin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, it was great that the sessions were so interactive. So that's, kudos to your staff on that. So talking about that and sort of the benefits to your clients, how do your listers and valuers kind of actually approach talking about AML on the appointments now?
So we make it part of the process. I mean, it is part of the process anyway, but I think we sort of make a fundamental point of explaining why we have to do it, B, the process that's going to happen, but C, also the benefit to them. So the lifetime legal membership, for example, we talk about that. We talk about mover protection. We work in an industry which is renowned for stress and wasted expenditure usually. So the idea behind the fact that you're going to have to do this anyway, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the added benefit is if you take up this membership, you also get X, Y, and Z. So if this falls through, and obviously I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure that it doesn't, then you are in a position where you're potentially able to claim back some of the costs you've incurred. And I think it's just that peace of mind perspective. And I think we work in an area where we move a lot of families, we have upsizers and downsizers who will move within a similar area. And some of those people are moving because they have the opportunity to move, not because they have to move. And I think sometimes with a lot of people like that, what puts them off doing it is the cost. They're happy to spend out the cost if they're going to get what they want at the end of it. But what they don't want to do is spend out money on something and then not end up moving house. So that's just another way that, someone's like, look, you might as well give it a go, because if someone lets you down, it can't be your fault. But if someone lets you down, which does happen more often than it being your fault, then you potentially effectively get your money back. And I know there's some T's and C's around that, but that's working really well. So, and then obviously from an instruction perspective, it's straight back to the office, put the order through the system. Your guys pick up the phone and do the rest. And that feedback we've had from our clients from that respect has been that it's absolutely seamless. We haven't had any grumbles whatsoever. We've had a couple of people that have questioned the charge, which is fine. That's going to happen. It's certainly nothing that's stopped us getting an instruction. We haven't seen our instruction levels come down whatsoever. But I feel like, and the feedback we're getting from our teams, but also our clients, is that our clients feel like they're dealing with a trusted partner of ours, which I think is always really important at that stage, because people are sharing a lot of information, especially if you've got a probate or a power of attorney. There's a lot of documentation that's being shared, which are all quite sensitive and private. And the feedback from our clients has been that, listen, it's easy to communicate with these guys, and what's more, we feel very safe in their hands. So you couldn't really ask for much more from what can be a boring and long-winded and a frustrating process. it's as easy as it can be.
Yeah, perfect. It's interesting. I was going to ask sort of what the feedback's been from your actual clients, because that's obviously really important to us, because we're representing you with your clients, and we very much see ourselves as a sort of partner of your business, and obviously want to make your clients feel safe talking to us about their ID and doing their ID checks with us and handing over, quite sensitive and private documents as well.
Yeah.
So that's really good to hear, that certainly there's been no issues. And on the charging front, obviously there's always a lot that sort of comes up in the industry press about, agents charging for different aspects, but obviously with anti-money laundering being a legal requirement, it's quite a hot topic at the moment. And it's interesting to hear that, again, your guys just haven't really come up against objections when they're sort of speaking about it to the clients. And that's just fantastic that, they're explaining it and actually getting the most out of the benefits that their clients receive as well. So what's the biggest sort of benefit you think the business has received since sort of working with us? What's the sort of one thing that you feel is like, do you know what, that's the biggest benefit?
I think there's three main benefits, but the biggest benefit is that peace of mind element. When you've got a lot of people who are all doing a fantastic job, but this bit's really, really important, and we know it's not the most exciting part of their role. So we know it's the type of thing that will get overlooked if there's not a correct process there. That doesn't wash for us. We have to have it. So the peace of mind that everything's completely outsourced. If we've got a problem, we can speak to your team and we can get it dealt with. That's the biggest benefit. I would say the second benefit is that time saving for the people on the ground for a similar reason. It's not something people are necessarily interested in spending a lot of time doing, but it's vital to be able to do it. So a couple of clicks on the button and it's done. They get the updates back. They know when it's in. They know when they can put it live on the web or issue the sales memo or whatever it might be, and they don't have to worry about it until that's done, unless there's any extra information required. But even then, it would be the very, very, very last call would be to us saying, can you help us out with this? Your guys have normally sorted it before it gets to that point. And then I think the third benefit from a commercial perspective is it's not costing us as a business any money to have this service. So I think with a lot of especially the app-based suppliers out there, the cost per check is quite low. When you start adding up how much that's actually costing you, it's actually quite high, and they're not all as compliant as you would be led to believe. So it's costing you more than you think, and you're not actually as covered as you think. So all in all, it's sort of a bit of a wasted exercise. Whereas I feel like with you guys, we've got that peace of mind. We know we're covered, and moreover, it's actually been a cost-saving exercise, and that's not why we set out to do it. But that is what it's ended up being as well. So those three things combined, I think, are the key points I'd be saying to anyone that isn't using you to consider. Because we were slightly apprehensive about the charging up front. We weren't the first people to do it in our area, which is where we sort of saw comfort in the fact that that would be fine. We charge less than other agents do out there because it's not a money-making exercise for us. But the reality is, it is a cost that our business has, and there's a cost that someone's got to pay for.
That's perfectly summarized. So what would you say to anybody that is thinking about charging for AML, working with smart compliance? What would you say to them if they were just sort of sat on the fence right now?
I would say that if you have a culture where your teams have the correct mindset, this is the same anything in the state agency with charging fees, whatever, getting people to use referred solicitors, referred FS providers, whatever it might be. It's all about mindset. So if you've got a team who are open to learning, willing to change their mindset, willing to understand the benefits, to then, as I mentioned earlier, coherently explain them to a client, then you will have no problem whatsoever.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Luke. I really appreciate your time today.
You're more than welcome. Thank you, guys.